This is the Whatever You Say
podcast.
This is the Whatever You Say podcast.
And we are back at it one more time, live in the Whatever You Say studios. Your man Ivory Towns, getting the podcast cracking for the first time of the new year. What's today? January 2nd, 2023. And I'm kind of honored to get this year cracked off with a new episode. And this fella, man, I feel like this guy needs to be, what he's doing needs to be a little more pushed out there a little more. I'm surprised. I haven't seen this guy on TV and just around town a little bit more. I've seen him getting his flowers on social media a little bit. And we're going to get all into his business. But before we start that, business first, as always, shout out to a couple of our sponsors, Cibo Alto, Higher Level Cuisines. If you know, you know, huh? The finest and the best and, infused goods. And another shout out to my folks, man. There's a couple podcasts out there that's making some waves. One time for my man Willie Mack in the Macadie series, Macadie TV. He does his live broadcast every, I think, week or so, couple of weeks. Check him out. And also the Vicious and Delicious podcast show with Big Snow and my man Rob. Check them out. Shout out to those dudes, man. Getting in this pissy podcast puddle, if you will. There's about 10 trillion of them out there. And, we'll do what we can to be seen and make our waves out in this thing. Let's get to the show, man. Let's get to this guy. Grand gentleman. When I say that, what does that mean to you? Those two words, put those two words together, it makes some kind of statement. Whether you're talking about dress, how you live, how you moving out here, personality-wise, how you conduct business. And this guy, he's embodying all that type of stuff. He got a lot going on. Talking about my man, Corey Akers, live in the Whatever You Say studios. And he is representing Grand Gentleman, a mentorship, a way of life. Go check out the website. Corey Akers, man, how we doing? Thanks for coming in, man.
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Once again, thanks for kicking off this new year with me, 2023. Rest in peace, Barbara Walters, by the way. I'll do my best Barbara Walters impression. Hopefully I can give a good interview, man. But appreciate you coming in, Corey. Talk to us about this Grand Gentleman thing, man. How long you been having it going?
Yeah, well, first, shout out to Barbara Walters, man. The media world will miss her.
No
She
doubt.
was a giant in terms of broadcasting, interviewing, and leading the way for women in the world of journalism. So she will be missed.
I was watching a special on her last night, and they were going down some of her great interviews. And you know what? Let's start right there. I watched her ask this question verbatim. Corey Akers, Grand Gentleman, what is your philosophy?
Our philosophy is, I'll give you our motto, because our motto is our philosophy.
Okay.
And that is that a gentleman is a man of the people.
I like that. You started this back in 2014.
Yes, sir.
9 years going strong. 10 years will be next year. Did you see it going on this long?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't halfway do things in life. If I do something, I'm in it to win it. I'm in it for a purpose. I'm in it for a cause. And I knew that when we started this was something that we wanted to maintain, because it meant something that had a positive effect. Immediately, I saw the positivity that came from it, and I enjoyed it. So I knew that I wanted to keep doing it as long as I could. And here we are, nine years into the game. Definitely not exactly where I thought we would be, in a good way, because we've grown so much.
Right.
But I'm blessed to be able to do it.
Let's talk details. Exactly what are we talking about now? You're into mentorship.
Yes, sir.
I know you have a scholarship
Yes, sir.
that's going on right now. You're looking to get into, correct me if I'm wrong, TV, film, the arts.
Yeah, yeah. So, well,
My man said he already said he doesn't do anything halfway.
yeah, man. So let's really get into it, man. I wanna address something else though. Going into the new
Sure.
year, I want to make something very clear. I've kind of touched on it before in different interviews, but um, you know, whatever you say, we here. It's the new year.
There we go.
I wanna set the record straight about some things since I'm here. Um, being a gentleman is means different things to different people. If you look up the dictionary definition, it'll be that a gentleman should be courteous, chivalrous, and honorable. And those are three things that I definitely believe in. But I want to add one extra layer to that. And that layer is why I felt it was important for us to do what we're doing and why it was important for us to bring it to the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
And that extra layer is discipline.
Mm.
The Black community lacks discipline. And Black men in general lack discipline. And that really, when we say, you should be a gentleman, it doesn't mean you have to put a suit on every day.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you have to wear a tie every day. Being a gentleman is more so about your acts, your actions, how you carry yourself, what you stand for, and what you're doing, more than what you're wearing. Is there a fashion aspect to it? Yes, but that isn't the main goal. And so the best example I can give is sometimes, when you carry yourself as a gentleman, you have to be a disciplined individual or you're not living up to that word. Mm-hmm. So like, I know I can't just talk to women any kind of way. I can't just not help people when I see them, need help. I have to move a certain kind of way because I do feel like I want to uphold that title of being a gentleman. And I really feel like that's something that the Black community needs. And sometimes you have to use words or titles like this to carry a message, mm-hmm. right? So for instance, and I always give this man love, but one of my heroes is Malcolm X. And, what one thing I took from him is that I saw what the Nation of Islam was, or Islam itself, was a tool that he used to bring discipline to the Black community. And so, obviously, grand gentleman isn't a religion. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that the way he used Islam or Islamic, practices and or what have you, to bring a sense of discipline to the Black community. That's what I want to do with this gentleman's lifestyle to bring more discipline to Black men.
I love the fact that you merged Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam and just their walk of life that you have to be committed to in order to do it the right way. If you want a map of how to live your life, that's a good one to follow.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I'm and it's one thing, I've had some low key critics, because I'm a Pan Africanist. I want to say that everything I'm doing is for the Black community. I have recently opened up our scholarship up to the Hispanic community as well, mm-hmm. because I feel like our communities are so close together, intertwined in a way,
yeah,
that, and we're typically right next to each other. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like uplifting one is uplifting another. Obviously, our primary focus is on the Black community, but for every 10 scholarships I give out to Black kids, I want to do one for a brown kid. You know what I mean? At least. It's obviously want to do as much as we can, but we're trying to do the most that we can. But no, going back to what you said though, man, I personally don't prescribe, to the religion of Islam, but I respect it.
Right.
And I respect those people and their discipline. That's what I want to mimic. And I had some low key people telling me, or not telling me, but insinuating that this gentleman stuff is like some white boy stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't appreciate that. And that's why I wanted to say what I said, because you had you really had Malcolm X teaching some of the core philosophies and our goals and our mission stuff is stuff derived from the Black Panthers and from the Nation of Islam. People forget that the Panthers were out giving away free breakfast and free lunches and programs like this. So when we do our back to school drives, we approach it with that kind of mission in mind. I think last month we were at Hoover Middle School, teaching the boys how to tie ties, teaching them about smart money investments that they can start thinking about now, teaching them about how to use kind and responsible words. And then we did a little fun. We had the Oklahoma Camaro Club. I think their name is the Faith Riders. Mm-hmm. They came out and they pulled up in their not Camaros, Corvette Club. Okay. They pulled up in their Corvettes and let the boys jump in. And that was a fun little day. We do stuff in the community like that all the time. And that's really important to me because these young men, these young boys need to understand that somebody cares. They need to have somebody pull up and you know what I mean? Just the fact that these grown men are pulling up to give back to us, it means a lot. And these are things that I've stolen from Black organizations that kind of paved the way. So, and honestly, I mean, when I say be a gentleman, that was a part of Malcolm's approach anyways. The nation was going up, suited up, being respectable, because a part of his message was you don't want to give these white people a reason to disrespect you.
That was intentional, man.
Right.
You know, they did that with purpose.
Right.
You say Pan-Africanism.
Yes, sir.
And when you throw that word out there, there's a guy out there that's attached to that phrase by the name of Dr. Umar.
Yes, sir.
I imagine you agree with a lot of his teachings and ideas?
I agree with most of what he says, specifically when it comes to the Black community economically and the Black community in education and the Black community supporting each other. I'm behind him 100%.
There's this thing, I don't know, maybe it's social media and that, I guess, 2 years that we had to deal with during the quarantine. There's a gloves off approach to how we pushing our message, whatever we want to push, right? It's like anything is viable right now. You can however you got to do to get your message out there, it's okay. And whether you're talking about Umar, whether you're talking about Charleston White, whatever rant and mess that Kanye is on for this week, it's almost, let me do something crazy, let me say something crazy, let me put a little funny twist on it just to get your attention. And maybe, hopefully, cross my fingers, you'll get my message in that. And I was talking to my kids earlier. Charleston White, at first, he was just an old uncle, down south country, just giving you some game, right?
Whatever you say.
Maybe delivering it in a harsh way, and maybe not the most proper way. But at the end of the day, it was just game. It was just truth that hoods needed to hear. Ghettos across America, urban folks needed to hear. Now you get the money involved. You can tell he's wearing 2 or 3 big chains in his videos. Now he wants to fight with rappers, and now he's going to tell on rappers, and now he's arguing with kids, and it's switched now. And I just wish that discipline, like that you're talking about, can always maintain even when the dollar signs start to grow up a little bit.
Well, to speak on that, man, you know, anytime someone offers me an opportunity and they want to acknowledge me and give me love and credit, I really don't want it. And I want them to credit the organization first, like credit the grand gentleman and give them the love. And here's why. I think the biggest weakness that men have is that they fall victim to their own ego. And when you let a man become bigger than a movement or an organization, he is letting his ego shine, right? I don't prescribe to that. So Dr. Umar, if you really look at his message from today to where it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, he's actually dialed it back a little bit. As extreme as he is now, he's dialed it back. He's loosened up on a lot of issues, and the reason being is because he wants to make sure that people know that he's preaching Black love and Black empowerment and not white hate and not hate towards anyone else. Yeah.
You see, he wants to crack a joke. He's like funnier now.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
you know what I mean?
I think
Charleston. He's switched it up on me a little bit.
See, and that's my point, because Charleston, who does he represent?
Right.
What organization is he behind? If Dr. Umar gets too crazy, then the whole entire Pan-Africanist movement looks crazy, because he's the face of it. I said Pan-Africanist and you said Dr. Umar because that's just what it is right now.
Yeah.
So Charleston White doesn't have a movement that he's attached to. He's just him. He can say whatever he wants. When he says something crazy, that gets more views, he gets more money, he gets more notoriety, and that makes him more powerful. And I'm gonna bring up another name, okay? And it's the same thing, but I think he handled it a little better, even though he was a controversial person, and that's Kevin Samuels. Because Kevin Samuels didn't have an organization or a group or anything.
From OKC, if I'm not mistaken?
From Oklahoma City. Went to Millwood High School.
Right.
Went to OU. He never had anything attached to him. He could say whatever he wanted to. And some people loved what he said. Some people hated what he said, but he could say whatever he wanted to. And I will say
whatever
that
you say.
Kevin Samuels, as wild as he was, carried himself with more class than Charleston White.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Because Charleston White, I feel like he loves talking about these young dudes and how they need to get out the high pressure situations. But he likes being in high pressure situations.
Right.
He likes cussing people out. I feel like Kevin Samuels, he really wanted to be something. As wild as he was, I feel like he wanted to. I think his intentions may have been kind of good, because I feel like he wanted to help people.
Well, once again, it's not like he was lying to women or men. It was some real good game that he was passing on, that you could take with you and use, and hopefully it'll work out for you. But it's every now and then he'll call you a fat whatever, or call you a big so it's issues like that. But that's what keeps us clicking on and coming back to it. Hopefully getting that message again next time.
Charleston White, he'll cuss a rapper out, and he says something very disgusting about some young man's daughter I saw the other day, which I can't get behind. And obviously, one thing I disliked about Kevin Samuels is, though, and I will admit that he would go hard on everybody. If you was a man and you didn't have your stuff together, he would go in on you too.
Yeah.
But the thing about Kevin Samuels that I didn't like is that, like I said, he spread his intensity everywhere, but he did build his brand off of kind of going in on Black women. And again, the posts the videos that were going viral was the ones where he was telling Black women, you're fat, you're old, you got kids, you're not going to find a husband, stuff like that. So I didn't appreciate that, but I will say, though, he at least he tried to be fair sometimes, and I really wish that Black men like this, who had this platform, would stand for something greater and try to do something bigger than just themselves and that ego. And that's why I really respect Umar, because he's been quietly getting his school together now, and at least he's spreading a good message. So
you brought up the school. Are we getting a school, man? I mean, they on his head about this school.
His last Breakfast Club interview, he made some clarity about where his process is with it, and I say, and again, I respect Umar, and I think that a Black school like this is something that is necessary, and
that beautiful, man,
very beautiful and very needed. Apparently, the work is getting done. I can't remember exactly what he said on the interview, but the work's getting done, and I learned from him, though, because with our scholarship, and that's the main thing Grand Gentleman does on the nonprofit side. Every year we do back to school. We partner with our brothers from 44th Rows. Shout out to the boys. You should have them on next.
44th Row?
44th Rows. They're from right here from the Mid-Dale area. They all went to Dale City.
No doubt.
From the south side.
Well, hey, after the show, we can connect dots and
let's connect it.
We can do that,
guys. I really love them. I respect them because, we had been doing stuff in the community, and they wanted to start, and then we have mutual friends. My boy Marquez, also known as Sauce Me Up GQ, one of the best producers from Oklahoma City. He's gotten a little busy now because he's signed with a label and making music. Doing it big. Shout out to the homie.
Hard to find now.
Yeah.
Huh?
But back before the pandemic, GQ was our that's another nickname. His GQ. I might use that, but he was our nightlife director, and entertainment director. And so he would DJ at our events and help promote our fundraising and stuff. And the 44th Rose Boys are like his childhood friends that he grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And so he connected us. And ever since then, every year we've done a back to school bash with them. We give out like 200 backpacks a year. And then right before the pandemic hit, we did a winter coat drive, where I think we gave out 200 winter coats to kids in the community, which was beautiful. So stuff like that. On top of another thing we do is we did a suit drive in February 21. We gave out 150 suits to men in the community on the east side. We were at Black Star Urban Culture Market over on Kelly, 36 and Kelly, owned by Mr. Larry Bird, good man, man I've known for a while. We did that at his shop. We gave out 150 suits. We gave out shirts. We gave out ties. Just during the pandemic, a lot of men were down on their luck, needed new jobs, needed to get some interviews in. So that was the whole purpose of that, is we want to get these young men right for that. Or older men or recently incarcerated men, whoever needed it. It was open to the public. It was 100% free. So stuff like that, we love doing. That's my passion. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep looking for funding for stuff like that. But the main thing that we do is our scholarship.
Difference between nonprofit and charities, because Grand Gentleman is a nonprofit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that you don't make any money,
right?
That just means,
well, they're not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
All real charities are nonprofits. Our nonprofit, I wouldn't consider necessarily a charity, because we are a proactive group and a proactive organization. So, we don't take people's money and just give it straight back to a cause. Like, we take donations, and if you donate to Grand Gentleman, you know that I'm gonna use your money to buy a bunch of ties for us to give to the kids when we go teach them how to tie ties.
Mm-hmm.
Or that money's going directly to a scholarship, or it's going to the winter coats, or it's going to wherever. I hate social media, because social media is used as a tool for people to garner clout. And a lot of people, they only do good things because the cameras are rolling.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, we would do stuff in the community, and I wouldn't even post it, because if people know you out here doing the work, that's all that really matters. And that the work is getting done. But then I realized that in order for you to gain more traction and more attention and get the word out and stuff, you got to put certain stuff on social media. So we started, getting more active into that. But anyway, so to get back to what you're saying, to be truthful, I don't know the textbook definition of what is the difference between the two, but I know that I don't consider us we're a charitable foundation, you know what I mean? But when I hear the word charity, I feel like it's a handout.
Right.
And Grand Gentleman isn't about handouts. We're about a handout.
We're putting work behind it, man.
Right.
Yeah. Now, are there like, I don't know, it sounds weird. Is there competition between nonprofits?
Yes.
Like, there's nonprofit haters out there?
There's nonprofit beef, man. So the thing is that everybody is fighting for the same grants, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of grant money out here. And the thing about Black nonprofits specifically is I feel like a lot of them are geared towards the same thing, right?
Mm.
And that's why it's a nonprofit.
More variety.
Right. It's important for you to have a niche, a specific niche that no one else is doing,
mm-hmm.
and kind of stay geared towards that. And so that's what I love about Grand Gentleman, is because I feel like our niche encompasses a lot, because a gentleman not only should be a man of the people, but should be a Renaissance man, right? So, for instance, every Valentine's Day, or every February on Valentine's Day weekend,
mm-hmm.
we do a fundraiser called the Art of Romance. It's like a gala, right? Like, so we have people dress up and put on their suits and dresses and stuff like that. But as a gentleman, I feel like you should be romantic. You should embrace the romance with your woman and treat your woman right and take her out, court her, date her, and all these things. But at that fundraiser, it's like an art show. So I have local artists come out and bring art to the event, showcase their art. I have local singers and poets come out and perform because I feel like that's a part of culture. And a gentleman should be refined and cultured. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I say that to say, I feel like we picked a niche that is something that is very open-ended, that can kind of be whatever we want it to be. But yeah, a lot of these nonprofits are kind of in the same lane. That's why I'm very proud of us, because there's nothing like us anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Where'd you get that from? Where'd that sense to serve and be a mentor? Where'd that come from? Did that come from the household?
Yeah.
You raised up in?
Yeah. My pop grew up. My dad was born in 1946. So he lived through the civil rights era. So when I was little, I was always being told about how hard it is, how much harder it used to be, and how a lot of these young cats squander the access to which we have of certain things, like the access to education, right? Like it's there, but you got to go get it. Sometimes you need somebody to motivate you. And our mission is to uplift, encourage, and motivate young men in our community, right? And I feel like, the best way to do these things is to show people in real life, like get out here. If you ever come to one of our back to school drives, you're going to see me out there handing out the backpacks. You know what I'm saying? I'm cutting the checks to the young men to go to college for our scholarship. You know what I mean? You gotta really mean it. You gotta be about it. So I watch my daddy. He's a truck driver. Get up for work and work hard every day. And that kind of got instilled in me. He was always helping people, giving back to the community. So I really just felt like that was something I was supposed to be doing. Like that always felt normal for me.
That's commendable, man. I mean, given the fact that, I'm sure you got your own job you got to take care of, your own family, your own household you got to take care of. And then for anybody that, has that extra time, puts in that extra effort to give to others. I've always looked up to that because I've done mentorship, I've done volunteer stuff before, but that's not the first thing that pops in my head when I have free time or when I think of my next step. What I want to do is not to give to a group of other people. I mean, like I said, I've done it before. I'll give when I need to, and family and friends, and and all that. But just on your level, the scale that you're doing it at, I can't lie, that doesn't pop in my head.
Well, I'll say this. I think that everybody has their own calling and has their own gift. And how you share your gift can be your mentorship. So this podcast, whatever you say can be used as a form of mentorship to steward young men into a righteous path. Mentorship doesn't always look the same. And I think one of the best things my dad did, obviously he's not perfect, and neither am I. I'm not saying I am. But I feel like as a black man, you should try to be a righteous man. Mm-hmm. You should try to be like those heroes you read about in the Bible or your comic books or whatever. Try to be a righteous man, because if you do, other young men will see you, and want to follow.
You say you do have a child?
Yes.
I have 3, and so we're both parents, and like you said, nobody's perfect. Do you kind of fight with those moments when you're just Corey Akers and I'm just with family and friends and I'm not in mentor mode? And then you say, well, you know what? I'm kind of being a little loose over here, but I'll snap back and remember I'm a grand gentleman. I represent something out here. When you have those moments, is it tough for you to kind of to balance those?
Man, all the time. I was just talking about this recently. People really try, like people try me all the time. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's kind of like people love to see someone with strong character step out of character. It's like, you remember in the Batman movie when Joker is trying to get Batman to kill? He's like trying to get him to do that. It's like that all the time.
Well, it's the car wreck thing. how traffic slows down to see the car wreck.
Right.
You know, we'll try our best. We'll rubberneck off for 2 miles, trying to see what that disaster is over there. You know, somebody's worst day of their life. But traffic is slowed down to a 30 mile an hour.
Right.
Just you know, everybody was just going 80, but now we'll slow down to 20 just to see this crash over here. So no, I'm right there with you. And then I mean, listen, we just crossed over into the new year. Did you have to deal with any of that during your New Year's Eve celebration? Was there some moments? Hey, man,
No. I mean, my New Year's Eve was pretty smooth. I was just out, just out.
My man was out being a gentleman on New Year's.
I was out. I was fly. I had a 3-piece on that I made, by the way, and I was in a pretty chill environment. I wasn't in a high pressure environment, But yeah, no, certain environments people definitely will try you.
Where'd that come from? You say you made the suit. Is that the fashion side of it? You say made, we're actually putting our hands on this thing and
so
we're knitting, we're stitching?
We a part of our scholarship is we give out $1,000 in a suit to kids who are graduating high school and on their way to college or community college, or a university or community college, or like a Metro Tech, a vocational course, something like that. And now I want to do something to where we help out entrepreneurs who present, business plans and stuff like this. But we lost our sponsor in 2021. We had a sponsor, and there was some miscommunication about some stuff, and they ghosted us.
Really?
They ghosted our organization. They no longer wanted to sponsor us. They would give us suits off the rack, and we would give them to the kids. And so I was in a place where I was like, man, I got to find a new sponsor and blah blah blah.
Whatever you say.
Relationship, and I had another sponsor that was willing to help us out and give us suits for free. But then I thought about, well, what am I preaching to people, to these young men, these young Black boys? Like I'm telling you, you need to be this and do this, and So long story short, I taught myself how to design custom menswear.
Come on, man.
Now I'm not cutting up the fabric and sewing it together. I'm designing it, and I have a tailor who does that for me. Like I send her my designs, and she and she makes it for me. But the design part is not easy. It's still a strenuous process.
It's not free.
It's not. No, it's not.
It's not free. I mean, is it? So now do we have to get a whole nother? If we're going to continue to do it that way, then the dollar amount just go up a little bit?
It does, but our donations are getting better. Like every year we get a little bit more donated. We work off of and thrive off of donations from the people in the community and companies. Like Next Step has been sponsoring us a few years. Every year they write us a check for $10,000.
Corey, I need you to teach me the game, man.
Well, we're just getting started, man. I actually got shout out to my boy Eric Pinnell. Eric actually used to work for Next Step, and he was a person who reached out to us originally. He was like, "Hey, I like what you guys are doing, and I want to help." And he actually left the company, but before he left, he made sure that they cut us another check. And then after he left, he was like, "Man, you guys could really use a good grant writer, and I just happen to be a great writer, and so I want to help you guys." So he's been helping us out. He's raised, I think, about $5,000 since August for us, and not including the next step check that we should get soon. So he's been great. He's a good guy, good family man.
I love what you're doing right there, man. Not afraid to give your folks that are in close range to you their flowers, man. And really, that's kind of how I stumbled upon you. I was interviewing your man, Adam Francisco. And I remember I was going through his social media, I was going through something, and I saw him post a picture with Grand Gentleman. It looked like a R&B group ad. And it was you, him, and your crew homies. I swear, I said, this is the full New Edition group right here. This is with Johnny, Bobby, all of them. But y'all were looking fly, and it was like, shout out to Grand Gentleman, check out my folks. And I thought it was something that he was doing, something he was involved in. And when I had him over here on the show, And I said, yeah, man, so tell me about Grand Gentleman. Oh, no, that's my man, Corey Akers. Yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. He's giving kids suits, he's giving them scholarships. But I love what you're doing right now. Just not afraid to go ahead and shout out the folks that are helping you along the way and giving your mans their flowers right now, man. We need more of that.
That's the problem with the Black community, is that we act like crabs in a barrel sometimes.
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid. Why wouldn't I shout out Adam and what he's doing with the Suave Report?
Right.
Reporting on Thunder games and in the culture of the NBA and professional sports and Black people in fashion and professional sports. Why wouldn't I shout out 44 Throws? They're doing great work over here in the Middale area.
Yeah.
Every year they're out here. They're one organization that I wish they would get more love and more funding, because they deserve it. They've been putting the work in. Let me think who else. I'll shout out Miss Raven. Chris.
It's a commercial right now for OKC. Shout out, y'all.
Miss Raven Crisp, I believe is her last name. She has an organization called Selfless Hands. She gets supplies for like homeless people in the community and stuff like this, and she puts them in this like box so they can like come get and stuff like that. And I don't know exactly. I can't explain. Nobody can explain with your work better than you. So, but shout out to Raven. She's doing great work out here. There's a lot of people who are just doing great. The Poetry and Trill homies, Gregory, teaching kids how to use poetry.
Started up at Douglas, didn't it?
I think he just got inducted into the Oklahoma City Teaching Hall of Fame or something like that.
He's been doing that for a long time. Like what, 15, 20 years right now?
No, he's not that. He's
not that long?
He's a little bit older than me. I think Gregory might be like 31, 32, something like that.
Okay, it's been going for a while, man.
Yeah, so he's been going at it at least probably about as long as we have.
Yeah.
Anyone else, if I didn't shout you out, nothing personal. I just, off the top of my head, some nonprofits are doing some work, but we need, and one thing I love about, especially these people that I just mentioned, we're all doing completely different things.
Yeah.
But we all could have the room to collab. You know what I mean? And so I want to shout them out. I hope they get some funding, get some eyes on them.
No doubt. Come on, Whatever You Say podcast. We'll talk about it. It's wild. You brought up Kevin Samuels and, just his message and rest in peace to him. Because this social media stuff, man, it's like it's a world in its own. Because I asked my lady about, what was my man's name? Who was just disgraced on social media? Derek Jackson.
Yeah.
I said, I think that needs to be an example of, we got to find balance in this thing, right? You see the way Kevin Samuels was approaching the whole thing, right? Really just giving it to you, just blatant, just blunt, just telling you to your face what it is, what men want, what women want, whatever. Then you go on the other end of the spectrum, Derek Jackson. He was Mr. Nice, Mr. Romantic. I'm going to tell you everything, fellas, what you need to be doing. And then he was a fraud.
Right.
So, and you see what happened to Kevin Samuels, not talking about the way he passed, but just the backlash he got. And it was attention, but it wasn't all positive feedback that he got either. Find a balance, guys and gals. Where does Grand Gentleman, when you're talking to these kids, because I'm sure you're hands-on with these kids too, what does Grand Gentleman talk or spread when it comes to relationships? Or do you even get into that point with these kids? I know you told them that, treat women with respect, but
always. After
that, how deep are we going?
So I'm glad you brought that up and led that to this. So stand on who you are and stand on the truth. Mm-hmm. All right. Mr. Derek Jackson built his platform on advising about relationships and commitment and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And he was a cheater, right? He wasn't really standing on his own truth. He built his platform on a lie, pretty much. The model for Grand Gentleman is that a gentleman is a man of the people. I've built my platform on community work, and that's what I stand on. Now, I will always tell my children, my young men that I'm looking after,
whatever you
always
say,
respect a woman. You shouldn't have to have a daughter or a sister or a mother or whatever to treat a woman with respect. You should give women the same respect you want. I want to shout out the Mad Dreams though.
Okay, one time for Mad Dreams.
Yeah, we so my best friend since freshman year of high school, DeQuan Cooper, started a production company, and I mean, I'm a creative along with him, so we're kind of in it together. It's it's his company that he brought me into. So my role is more of a executive producer. I write some stuff, but he's a writer, filmmaker, videographer, editor. We've been producing short films here locally that we submit them into festivals and stuff like this. During the pandemic, when we weren't able to film like we wanted to, I'm really proud of him. He actually he found something new. He tackled animation, so he really started working on his art and stuff like this, and he's been learning how to animate. So we've actually got some animated projects that we're gonna drop soon that are really cool, and then later on this year we're gonna get back to filming again. So Mad Dream Cinema on Instagram or Mad Dream Cinema on Facebook. Mad Dreams in Motion, excuse me, is the animation page on Instagram. I want to say this though, actually, the Mad Dreams umbrella is a lot of entertainment stuff. I'm actually writing. I'm writing like 4 or 5 comic books right now that we're gonna produce under Mad Dreams as well. So I've been working on these joints for like 4 years, man. But we're doing that as well. All my heroes are black. My main characters are all black. It's a lot of representation, but good storytelling as well. So be on the lookout for that, and follow Grand Gentleman and Mad Dream Cinema.
No doubt about it. And since we're shouting out, let me give a shout out to one of my sponsors, Lonnie's Law Firm. One time for Lonnie's Law Firm, free consultation as long as he's free that day. That is 1-888 call today. And remember, if you did it, it's best to let them know, because finessing is Lonnie's law. Don't get burned. Call my man Lonnie's Law Firm. All right, proud sponsor of the Whatever You Say podcast. Sitting here with Corey Akers. So listen, man, you're a Swiss Army knife. So you can draw too. You can paint. We're doing all that too.
I'm not the artist. My buddy DeQuan is the artist.
Putting the stories together.
Yeah.
So when's the book?
I write. Man, listen.
When's the book? Come on now.
So here's the thing. I'm thinking about releasing my stories as novels because illustrating them is taking so long. And so I'm thinking like, let me just put out like a little book. But the thing about being, and I guess I'll consider myself an artist in the fact that I created something. Like my vision for it was never for it to be a straight book like that. Like my vision for it was always to be like, I want pages with panels in them and action and stuff like this going on.
Okay.
But it's just taking forever. So I'm not really sure about it. I do want to say, I want to say 23 is the year that we'll finally release it all and make it happen. But it's coming.
I got a son back there, man, who writes short stories. I guess you can almost, paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs, like cliffhangers though.
Okay.
Right? It's always something wet, and you don't know what's happening next. But he only gives you a quick little paragraph. I'm trying to get him to kind of, I think there's something there, and maybe if he tried to stretch out and write a couple more, write a long story or something. But the little short stories are pretty entertaining too, so maybe breaking your stuff down into, part 1, part 2, part 3, or volume 1, 2, 3, or, something like that.
Well, they are. As anytime you do something as a creative, that creation is your baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel you.
And so like, I just want it to be digested in the way that I prepare it, that I want to prepare it. If that makes sense.
I'm with you.
And I really want it to be in the comic book format.
You a big comic fan as a kid?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I was a nerd, and that was one thing I stayed out of trouble because I was just
nerd. Hey man, nerds are winning right now.
For real.
Can we just be honest?
Yeah.
Nerds are winning right now, man. So you a big Marvel fan? You into all that, the Marvel and DC movies? And
man, listen, when I tell you, okay, so this is a weird thing. So like, because of how big these movies have gotten lately, a lot of people consider themselves fans. I was one of the people who was reading comic books at like 5, 6 years old.
I could tell there's a separation.
There is
the fans that are just fans of the movies and the effects, And then you got the real down home now. I was reading a comic book.
Listen, I know. Seriously, so when you were on the playground, or not maybe elementary school, but middle school and high school, you're a nerd and you know, it's like, oh, look at this, look at that geek, he's reading comic book stuff.
Right.
But like now, like, so for instance, I'll go to work and, you know, we'll talk about like Wakanda Forever. We're talking about the movies or whatever. And I just know this history of this world so well. Like my coworkers be looking at me like, man, tell us more. Like, what's going to happen next? Because now we're at the point the casual moviegoer is invested into the MCU and they want to know where that world is going.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone is like speculates like what's going to happen next. I knew Thanos was going to get that Infinity Gauntlet and snap half the universe out of existence because I read the book 10 years ago.
You knew it was going to happen, huh?
I have a pretty good idea what's happening in this next phase.
What's happening with Black Panther? I mean, I don't think no one saw that coming with my man passing. So what could happen? That thing is up in the air, right?
Let me break this down to you.
Break it down, man.
You're getting exclusive. I'm a huge Black Panther fan, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, spoiler warning: young T'Challa,
Whatever you say.
Young baby T'Challa to Saint.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the multiverse saga, and Kang the Conqueror is the big bad, if you will, of the multiverse saga, and he is a master of time. He's from the future. Okay.
Who is the guy we're talking about?
His name is Kang the Conqueror. He's played by Jonathan Majors.
What movie was this?
He wasn't he hasn't been in a Marvel movie yet, but if you watch the Loki TV series,
okay.
He was at the end of that. So
okay.
it's getting to the point where you got to watch all these shows. And
Right. Okay.
He's going to be in the next Ant-Man movie. So you want to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
But Kang the Conqueror is a very interesting character because he's from the future. He's a genius from the future. And he takes all these super technological advancements that he has from the 31st century. And he brings them back here. And he changes history to his liking. So, for instance, if he says, you know what, if Martin Luther King doesn't die and he lives for another 20 years, that makes my future better. So I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to stop the guy from killing Martin Luther King so he can live another 20 or 30 years.
Okay.
And that's the future I want. He's called Kang the Conqueror because he goes back in time and he conquers, in air quotes, a certain time. So in the comic books, he travels back to ancient Egypt and he conquers ancient Egypt and becomes a pharaoh called Ramatut. And I love this because they got Jonathan Majors playing him. So we're going to have a black man playing the pharaoh in ancient Egypt. And that in itself is going to be dope.
Okay.
But he conquers ancient Egypt to do some insidious stuff. And by conquering ancient Egypt, he kind of creates the future that he wants. You know, you see what I'm saying? So he creates an alternate future.
Yeah.
That he wants, and the Fantastic Four go back in time to stop him.
Whatever you say.
It's a great oldie book, but I think that's the direction that the MCU is going in general. But anywho, Kang can control time, and so what I think is going to happen is little baby T'Challa is going to get in a situation where in one movie he's going to get aged up about 15 years, and
what you mean while when the movie started he was a certain age, and then in the middle of the movie, or the next time we see
when the movie starts, he's gonna be. I think they said he was 5 or 6.
Okay.
When the movie starts, he's gonna be a youngster. Something's gonna happen. Kang is gonna put him in a portal and send him to another dimension. And this dimension, time acts differently. And when he comes back, he's gonna be 20.
Okay, I get you. Okay.
And we're gonna have a new Black Panther. And here's the thing: it's kind of brilliant. Because I was one of those people who wanted to recast T'Challa because T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman's portrayal of him was very powerful. And young black men needed to see that. And I didn't think it was fair to just delete a character that's been around for 60 years, 50 since 1966, and get rid of him because the person who played him died. We've had 3 Spider-Men. We've had like 8 Batman. We've had 4 or 5 Jokers, 3 or 4 Supermen. We deserve this black character, but they didn't want to just recast him like that because they felt like that would be disrespectful to Chadwick's legacy.
I've read up on some of this, and they use those same examples that you're and that makes sense to me. You know, But I think, was it still of a, since it was so new to black people and it hit so hard with us, and we were so proud of that movie, I still think it was a almost a too soon thing. Then we suffer his loss, and then I don't know what, a year later we get the second Black Panther. I guess has even been past a year.
He passed away in August of 2020, and the movie came out in November of 2022. But they were filming. They were filming.
Takes a while, yeah.
Right.
Pandemic and all that stuff.
Right.
So I mean, but it seems like it was a too soon thing still, to have to just throw somebody else in that situation. But I mean, you're right. If we want to keep it fair in how they do the other movies, I didn't think it was a big problem. Some people have a problem with, they say the women took over,
Whatever
and it was
Whatever you say.
some homosexual stuff going on, and it got into some other stuff. Do you think if Chadwick Boseman was in that movie, we still wouldn't have those issues? We still wouldn't have those questions?
And I'll say this: Ryan Coogler's script before Chadwick Boseman passed away was completely different. Ryan Coogler wanted to write a story about fathers and sons.
Mm-hmm.
The first story was a father-son story, being that T'Challa and Killmonger were the sons who were being affected by decisions of their fathers.
Yeah.
And this story was going to be a story about T'Challa's son being affected by decisions that he made. That was the original script. Obviously, you can't do that anymore after Chadwick passes away. Well, Shuri was the next in line to the throne. And in the comic books, Shuri becomes the Black Panther, and she is the next in line to the throne. I knew where they were going. Like, again, if you read the comics, you're not surprised about these decisions. In the comic books, now the Dora Milaje, Black Panther's been around since the 60s. And so Shuri wasn't even introduced until like 15, 20 years ago. She's a relatively new character in the Black Panther mythos. The Dora Milaje got introduced in the 90s, I believe. I can't remember whose run that was in the 90s, but they've been around for a while, is my point. So it's kind of weird to me where these guys are complaining about a feminist movement in Black Panther when Shuri and T'Challa's mom and the Dora Milaje have been a part of the Black Panther mythos for almost 30 years now.
Yeah.
That was nothing new. And in terms of the homosexual stuff, what they're referring to is two of the Dora Milaje are together. And at the very end of the movie, there's a shot where one of the ladies is sitting down and the other one kind of comes up and she grabs her grabs her by the shoulders and she kisses her on the top of the head. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And so I really feel like when people talk about these things, it comes off as insecure. Are you afraid of women in power? And like, I'm not here to push any kind of agendas, because I will say this, and I need listeners to have an open mind and ear when I say this, is that I will say that I'm not going to say there's an agenda to push images of Black gay men in media, but I feel like companies and corporations don't really care about gay black men. They care about checking a box of diversity. Mm-hmm. And if you have a Black person who is also gay, you check two boxes
at once, same time. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So we see this a lot. Now, the problem is that gay people exist and gay Black men exist and gay Black women exist. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so, like, I say this all the time, my kids at where I work at, if somebody's gay, that's just who they are. It's part of life. You're gonna run across gay people. You don't treat, if your best friend comes out to you and tells you that he's gay or she's gay, are you gonna treat him any different? Or you know what I mean? It's a part of the world. So I say all that to say, like, if your main complaints about Wakanda Forever that there's too many women in it or that there's some gay stuff in it, then I think you have some problem that you need to deal with, mm-hmm. And not the movie.
Women are kicking ass nowadays, man.
And they are. And you want to know what else?
Tell you the truth, I like for my woman to kick a little ass.
I do too, man. And in African traditions, women are divine.
Right. And that's the mode. that's the mode. Like let's be honest. Me and my lady, we sit and watch 90 Day Fiance or whatever. You know, the
Uh-huh.
little silly stuff on TLC or whatever it is. Listen, man. One of those couples is like one of the guys from an island. You know,
Hmm.
Hawaiian, Samoan. You know, those islands.
Hmm.
And the girl who's an American, she's a bigger lady. She's kind of, you know, a heavy set lady.
Right.
In their culture, that's what they want.
Right.
They want the woman to be strong physically, mentally, emotionally. She runs the household. I mean, like in other cultures, I'm not gonna say we're the only one, but you know, we are one of the only cultures here in America where you know, the woman is not supposed to do those type of things, or she's expected to step down, or she's not expected to be as strong or have a leadership role in the household. In other cultures all across the world, is quite opposite.
Right.
You know,
Well, especially in African
especially in Africa.
traditions, most family lineages are maternal, not
Mhm.
paternal.
Not paternal, right?
Meaning they trace your ancestry back through your mother's
Yeah.
lines, and so that's why.
Only makes sense to me. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Daddy be out there doing whatever.
And mom is always going to be there.
Right. Can we just be honest? Papa's a Rolling Stone.
Right.
That didn't come from nowhere. But no, it makes sense, man. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I encourage people that in The Woman King. I produce movies, like I said earlier. I love film, so I want to talk about this for a little bit. But The Woman King, I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I heard at the end it was a man and woman on the throne, and that had people kind of talking a little bit.
No.
No, that's not what it is.
Spoiler warnings for anyone who hasn't seen it. The king, what's his name? King Gozu, something like that, played by John Boyega, is. So I will say this. I don't think there's anything wrong with feminism, but I don't think that feminism should come at the cost of masculinity. And when I say that, what I mean is you don't have to make every man in your movie look like an idiot to empower women. You can just have simply powerful women.
That's what you saw in that one?
That's what I saw in The Woman King. There are films that don't do it. Like I could name some. I'm not gonna name them, but there are films that just make men look like idiots and the women look overpowered.
I always tell my family in commercials, dads always look stupid. They always make dads look stupid in commercials.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's typical marketing for you because the women go out to, you know, make those choices about, you know, what you should get. But
Right.
in this film, John Boyega's king, his character who's the king, is fully competent, intelligent, and brave and strong the entire film. Okay, and towards the end of the film, he rewards Viola Davis's character with a new title, a new position, where he basically makes her. And excuse me if I'm getting this wrong, anybody, go see it for yourself. If I'm wrong, come get in the comments and tell us. But he makes her like his a queen, if you will, or his second in command.
Okay.
I mean, it's called The Woman King. Like she's like his co-captain, if you will,
Okay.
of the kingdom.
Okay. I mean, isn't that kind of what a queen is? I mean, right? I mean,
Yeah,
isn't it kind of a?
Well, so she's and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was more so over military things,
Yeah.
than having kids.
Okay.
With him. Because
she was kicking ass, and I remember that.
they the homie warriors they can't marry or have children,
Okay.
right? So, but Gozu, sorry, what's his name? I just said his name.
John
Boyega. John
Okay.
Boyega's character. You know, he's got multiple wives, and he's gonna have a bunch of children in the
Right,
movie.
right.
His life's gonna go on, but she's just there to help him as like a military leader and help rule the country. And he shared the power.
And just like we talked about, it's Africa. They don't look at sex like that, like in terms of leadership. She was capable. She was a capable ruler. So I don't see why people have a problem with it. Because not once in that movie did they emasculate John Boyega's character. Not once. And there's even a line where he has to check some women in a respectful way. It was like, I'll suit up and get out there and go fight myself, or he was a capable leader. And so I love what they did. I can't remember her name, but the director who did this also did Love and Basketball and some other movies. So she's been in the game a minute, but I thought it was great. I think every Black person, especially Black women, need to see it. And you know what else? And I'm going to say this and we can jump off this topic, is that women need to see powerful women.
True.
As men, we shouldn't be so hurt by the idea of seeing that. If you got a daughter, you should want your daughter to go see The Woman King. Yeah. Because they're capable. You know what I mean? And a capable woman does not take anything from a capable man, except your insecurity. If you're insecure about it, then it's going to be a problem. But, a good story is a good story, and strong women are strong women.
That's good stuff right there, man. That's grand gentleman is Corey Akers right there, giving you the game. Corey, you're a busy guy, man. You got your hands in a lot of stuff. And one thing I've noticed and I've heard, kind of to remind people that there's more going on out here, and you see how fast things are going. We're 2 days into the new year. We've lost a couple people already. The grind culture. There's
whatever
this new
kind
of theme going around, this new energy of get up, I got to get it right now by any means necessary. I got to grind all day. What you doing? Sleeping? What you doing? Why are you sleeping, man? I got to get it all day. That whole mind frame, which is good. Entrepreneurism at its finest. But there is something to say about, how are we raising our families? How are we raising our kids? If we're always working, if we're always out of town, who's watching the babies? Who's molding this kid the right way? How do you balance that? You're a busy guy. You have kids. And I say kids because you got your mentorship and your boys that you're up there trying to raise. How do you balance those things of being present for you and yours, but also chasing your dreams?
Well, something that you don't know about me, but I love telling people if they don't know, is that I'm a Libra. And so the important trait,
scales, huh?
you have to learn how to balance everything. And luckily for me, my passion and my personal interests come hand in hand. So for me, I like spending time with the kids and getting back to them. I really feel like they're all like my little brothers. And all of, even the younger ones, because where I'm at, we serve 6 years old to 18, so the little ones are like my little sons and the older ones are like my little brothers. But in terms of grind culture, I think that self-discipline and discipline in general is important, but self-care is equally important. And I think that everybody needs to find the perfect balance of getting things done that they need to get done, as well as taking time out to take care of themselves. And I think that this new year, we need to find time for that. We need to find space for that for ourselves.
I don't think it's white folks. I think it's Negroes. I do not think this is white folks. It could be. It could be white folks. But I think it's Negroes. I think a Negro did this.
Whatever you say.